greetings and welcome to an LGR thing, all about this intriguing rarity of a computer that became more intriguing and rare the more I dove into things. Yeah, this is the Chaplet Hallican LA30A from the late 1980s. A strange name, but an award-winning design, having won the International Forum Design Award at CeBIT in 1989. It's also one of the earlier laptops to combine a backlit display, full-sized 3.5-inch hard disk drive, and dual ISA expansion slots that could run entirely on its own power, making the Hallican a true desktop PC replacement that was fully mobile, running on its own battery for up to 2 hours. Which, yeah, the unusual name and overall design were what made me want to cover this thing when I got it last year. But man, it's been a journey getting here, since just about everything you're seeing in terms of the exterior of the laptop, yeah, it's almost all been completely replaced with new 3D printed parts, out of necessity. It turns out that award-winning case design, it probably should win another award for using the most brittle plastic I have ever come across in a computer. I put out a video about the whole ordeal when I first received it a while back, because I honestly couldn't believe how bad it was. I got it on eBay from a seller I'd bought from without problems many times before, and while there was a single crack above the keyboard shown in the listing, I figured no big deal, I could live with that. But that one crack turned into 1,000 of them, crumbling apart like a bag of potato chips, despite being pretty decently packed in a box and inside its original carrying case. Although that no doubt contributed to the carnage, seeing as it was packed in there so tightly with its own power supply and everything. Still, regardless of shipping and handling conditions, there's so much awfully fragile plastic on the Hallican that I don't think it would have survived however it was packed up. The only plastic things that got through intact were the power supply and parts of the monitor assembly and handles. And yet here we are now with a fully rebuilt laptop. All the internals made it and still worked, and have been transplanted into this all-new case thanks to some incredible work done by my friend Matt. He runs the Polymath YouTube channel, and this kind of rebuild is his particular type of madness, so when he reached out offering to take on this bonkers project, I was happy to oblige. He was legit the first person that came to mind when I considered getting a new case made, as he was for so many of y'all in the comments being like, we need Superman, aka Polymath, to 3D print a new case and give the Hallican a second chance at life. So I packed everything up into 4 boxes this time so that each bit was separated with enough protection to ensure things didn't get even more wrecked than they already were. And over the following months, Matt got to work reverse engineering the design and modifying and improving it where it made sense, which he fully details in the video on his channel, so do go check that out if you'd like the full rundown. Particularly the bits regarding the plastics themselves, where he enlisted the help of someone with an electron microscope to take a look at the original materials to try and see why they may have become so bizarrely brittle over time. And it turns out there are all kinds of micro cracks and pockets and fissures in there contributing to the problem. A problem that isn't limited to vintage computers, it's also plaguing parts of certain vehicles, with a notable example being the dashboards of second-generation Dodge Ram trucks, which have become infamous for breaking into a million pieces, a whole lot like the Chaplet Hallican.
And this is what it does.
Yeah, I find it amusing that it's a problem with car parts too, since during my research for this video I stumbled into the fact that Chaplet Systems was actually a subsidiary of the Chinese Automobile Company Limited, at the time the largest auto company based in Taiwan. So whatever plastics car companies were sourcing back in the day, it wasn't good. But yeah, about that, who the heck was Chaplet anyway? Well, in Taiwan, they were known as the Chunglei Electronic Industry Company, or at least that's what it translates to in their press materials and website. But on the outside of their building and basically everywhere else, they went by Chaplet Systems Incorporated. A name with origins unknown. Maybe it has to do with metallurgy. I assume it has nothing to do with prayer, although maybe that would have been useful when trying to ship my Hallican across the country. Anyway, Chaplet was founded in 1985 in Taiwan, and it wasn't long before they established a US branch in Atlanta, Georgia. Although they relocated to Sunnyvale, California sometime in 1988, where they were known as Chaplet Systems USA. But yeah, overall, Chaplet's main business was as an ODM, or Original Design Manufacturer, coming up with designs for laptops and building them in Taiwan to be sold to other companies around the world to then brand and sell under whatever name they liked. Chaplet machines were rebranded by the likes of CompuAdd, Comtrade, Olivetti, Mitsuba, Micom, Magitronic, Acom, Ergo, Optimus, and more. So, like if you had an Olivetti Echos laptop in the 90s, chances are it was a Chaplet iLufa, just rehoused in a slightly different shell. And as far as I know, it was only ever laptops Chaplet made, with a particular effort put into producing hot new sub-notebooks by the mid-90s, as seen in this 1994 episode of Computer Chronicles.
If you're into cute portables, this is the iLufa 350 from a Taiwanese company called Chaplet. This computer is so small, the spec sheet lists its dimensions in millimeters. The iLufa mini notebook runs on standard alkaline batteries and comes in a color or monochrome version. Price ranges from $1,500 to $2,300.
Chaplet seemed to run a pretty tight ship the whole time they existed, enough so that one of their main competitors, Toshiba, announced they were buying them outright in January of 1999, signaling the end of Chaplet, with them becoming Toshiba's new Taiwanese manufacturing hub and only making Toshiba laptops from then on, it seems. But that's the end of their product line. What about the beginning? Not the LA30 here, but their very first laptop, which, according to their company history website, was the Hallican LA20 in 1986, followed by the LX20 and LA22 the following year, with the LA30A launching in 1988, with a starting price of $2,000 US for the base model with no hard drive and 1 megabyte of RAM, $2,300 for one with a 40 megabyte hard drive, and upwards of $3,300 with a hard drive and 4 megabyte RAM upgrade, bringing it to its maximum of 5. Yeah, around $8,500 adjusted for inflation nowadays, though it was actually one of the more affordable late 80s laptops in its performance class, as it was sometimes put in their ads with their David versus Goliath motif saying how much of a bargain it was compared to its closest business laptop competitors. And to be clear, I'm referring to it being a laptop as it was defined in the late 80s, so not a notebook computer. Those were thinner and lighter weight, with a form factor closer to a paper notebook, and often costing much more with less in terms of I/O options. But laptops were still smaller than a transportable or luggable, which required wall power and were much heavier and bulkier than a clamshell battery-powered laptop, not at all suited to being on top of a lap, in other words. Although the Hallican is just about as large as you'd want to go for top-of-the-lap computing, I'd say. It's doable, but it's still a hefty boy weighing around 14 pounds. Still, for the end of the 80s, this is a mighty appealing form factor, especially for a DOS PC configured like this one with a 40 megabyte hard disk and 2 megs of RAM. And all models came with the same 12 MHz Intel 286 CPU installed, with an open socket for an optional 287 math coprocessor if you were that kind of elite. And I gotta say, with its new polymatte case and aesthetic enhancements, I still think it's appealing even 38 years later. That's very much my style, at least, with real wood accents that scream LGR. Almost literally, actually. The strip above the keyboard that used to be a plastic legend is now walnut veneer with a brass LGR inlay tucked in there. Ugh, I love it. And what used to be a plastic cover on the side is now filled with this walnut wood piece that's classily engraved with a polymatte reproduction logo. It's good stuff. I'm not trying to pass this off as an unrestored laptop after all, so I figured if we're going to do a full reproduction anyway, we may as well add some flair. Though the goal was certainly to recreate its original award-winning case design, while also using as many of the old parts that survived as made sense. Like the display, for example, most of the plastics actually held up, but for consistency it was all recreated anyway. Except for this push-in plastic latch on the front. That piece was still intact and holding up nicely, still clicking the lid into place and remaining springy, so was kept as is. The same with the carrying handle around back. That's also an old piece that held up great. Plus, it has a metal bar embedded inside, doubling as a stand to angle things upward a bit. Otherwise, it's all the same as it was before, for better and worse. On that note, actually using the Hallican LA30, it's a late 80s business laptop. It's built for managing inventories and typing up expense reports, so you'd really hope the keyboard doesn't suck, and thankfully it doesn't. Actually, it's even better than I expected. It's not clicky, but it's still a mechanical one, using Mitsumi miniature mechanical yellow switches with these Cherry MX-style cross-shaped stems for attaching to the keycaps. And when it's powered off, both the feel and the sound are pretty enjoyable, I think. That said, once you actually start typing in software, things are not so great. There's an unreliable roughness to the actuation that makes me miss more key presses or press more than once when I don't mean to. I'm sure some of it's due to age and wear, but even with these all cleaned up inside and out, it's less than ideal. Though if you don't like it, then whatever. It has dedicated ports for both keyboard and mouse right on the side. Unusual on a laptop, especially the keyboard port. Though despite being the same pin layout, it's not PS2 compatible, so don't even try, because it doesn't work. According to old reviews I found, this actually uses Chaplet's own 7-pin connection, requiring a special adapter from them that allowed you to use a standard AT keyboard. Odd stuff indeed. As is the inclusion of a dedicated mouse port, and no, I don't mean the usual serial port. I mean the 9-pin mini DIN to the left of it, which is a bus mouse port, one by Logitech it seems. Not a kind of mouse I own, unfortunately. Then around back, hidden behind the handle, is a standard parallel port next to a 9-pin video output of some kind. More on that in a minute. Then near the noisy little exhaust fan on the left side is this 5-pin DIN, and that is for connecting the 17-volt 3.2 amp DC power brick. Although the big appeal of the Haliken is it could run on its own batteries, and the LA30A came with 2 nickel cadmiums, a barrel battery for CMOS settings, and this dynamite-looking pack for the main system, each of which Matt replaced and rebuilt with brand new cells. And I can confirm that its original battery life claim of nearly 2 hours is accurate. That's about what I've gotten myself. Impressive stuff, considering that its hard drive is a standard IDE model by Connor, exactly the same type you'd have in a full desktop PC with no optimizations for mobility. And yep, there's a floppy drive, a 1.44 meg full height 3.5-inch model. That's all you get for removable external storage. Internal is another story though. The Haliken hides not 1 but 2 ISA expansion slots. Remove this plastic cover to reveal 8 and 16-bit slots, an awesome feature in any laptop. They're half-length, but hey, this is kind of perfect for modern homebrew sound cards, or Pi-based upgrades like the Pico Gus or Pico Mim, heck, maybe even the Pico IDE. That could be an ideal upgrade since this has both IDE and a 3.5-inch drive bay. And another feature I really enjoy on the LA30 is this lovely set of amber LED indicators under the LCD panel, which also has these 2 buttons. The glowing one on the left is particularly interesting. Check what happens when you press it. And then you press it again. Yeah, I have never seen this. This is a hard drive power switch. And no, it's not for parking the heads. This Connor IDE drive has an auto parking mechanism. Nope, as stated in the manual, it's for saving battery life whenever you're not actively reading from the drive. So I guess it'd also be good for peace of mind while moving the laptop around while it's powered on, but regardless, a dedicated hard disk power switch is a new one on me. Speaking of the drive, it is a Type 17, as you can see within the BIOS setup program here, something included in ROM thankfully, so there's no need for a setup floppy. Though it's too bad that it's so limited, the screen here is all you get. There's hardly anything to adjust beyond the most basic settings. As for the operating system, Chaplet originally shipped this with MS-DOS 3.3 from the factory, though this one is configured with version 5. They also provided a Windows 3.0 installation for an additional fee, something I was happy to see this still had installed on the hard drive. Though, yeah, it's a tad lacking here visually. Not only is this a monochrome screen, but it doesn't show everything at once. Which is too bad, seeing as this is an 11-inch backlit LCD with 640 by 400 native resolution. While a blue phase STN passive matrix LCD, so ghosting is ever present and all the pixels are blue. That's what the other button does below the display, by the way. It swaps the blue so you can get the opposite look, depending on your preference. But yeah, the screen resolution should be more than enough for Windows 3 to show it all at once, so what gives? I was a little confused when I got this, considering the Chaplet brochure and all the press at the time listed it as being fully CGA compatible, along with MDA and Hercules monochrome modes. When you look in the system setup though, it's configured as monochrome with no way to adjust that from there. Then when configuring a program in DOS or checking the video settings in Windows, it's listed as a Hercules display. And okay, cool, Hercules was a popular standard providing higher res graphics on monochrome displays, so it's a logical choice. But it's also why you can only see part of the screen at once on the Hallican and have to use an arrow key combo to scroll right and left to see whatever's cut off. Since Hercules graphics mode runs at 720 by 348 and the Hallican's panel is 640 by 400, it's both wider and shorter than native resolution. As for why I couldn't get CGA working on here, I just didn't know the correct key combo to swap display modes. And the only reason I do is thanks to George, who I first met at VCF East 2025, and also has a channel diving into retro computing oddities, and is the only soul on the planet I know with a complete LA30 instruction manual. So, armed with this precious knowledge, I was able to engage CGA mode. It's lower resolution, but it fully fills up the LCD panel without getting cut off. Those hotkeys also enable the 9-pin output around back, and when connected to a suitable monitor, you can get Hercules or CGA through the same port. And man, what a rush once I finally got all this working. The Hallican really is a proper late 80s desktop replacement laptop. This is awesome. It's like having my IBM PC-AT in a portable form factor running entirely on batteries, and it weighs about half as much. Amazingly only half, but hey, I'll take it. A 12MHz 286 and a couple megs of RAM are plenty for most DOS PC applications and games through 1991 or so. It's really the graphics that hold you back the most. An EGA card would be pretty ideal on a configuration like this, but that's also not what it's made for. It's made for businessy business stuff. Your processing of words and spreading of sheets and all that. Good old 80-column text mode is all you need for that sort of thing. And the graphics modes take care of most of the rest, even allowing for a little desktop publishing and design work, so long as you have a program that makes use of CGA or Hercules. And yeah, I was happy to see a number of nifty programs still hanging around on disk. Yeah, once the old drive randomly started working again at least. It's cranky and takes some extra encouragement each time to properly load its 30 meg stacker partition, but once it does, it brings up this neat menu system filled with a variety of late 80s goodness, both familiar and unexpected. In particular, I really enjoyed seeing this typing tutor program because having a Mavis Beacon childhood ruined what I find exciting. Anyway, individual software's Learn to Type included a mini-game with a title that was impossible to ignore, Lobster Sea Adventure. Because typing practice can be hard work, and worse yet, it can be boring. So in this game of chase, you must learn to type quickly or else be caught by the lobsters of the sea. Fantastic, no notes, I am sold. And yeah, I got what I signed up for. Type the words quickly and accurately enough so that you stay ahead of the killer crustacean, make it to the end, and you win. I don't know what you win, a ramekin of butter perhaps, but yeah, monochrome gaming is all you get from the Hallican hardware itself, at least without an external monitor. Maybe I'll just plop an EGA or VGA card in here and try to bypass the internal video situation entirely at some point, but for what it was designed to do, this machine would have been a pretty solid solution for late 80s business folks on the go. At least until it turns into peanut brittle. And that's about it for the Chaplet Hallican LA30A. Rebuilt and reborn with a new body that's better than ever and computing capabilities that are kind of okay, I guess. Whatever, I have plenty of faster and more capable DOS laptops. That's not the point. I'm simply stoked that this has worked out at all and didn't end up as e-waste, because wow, what a roller coaster of emotions it's been. From the initial sad state of things, to hearing from Matt and having hope it could be restored, to being thrown for a loop when UPS said a railroad mechanical failure interrupted delivery when I was trying to send it to him. Seriously, I was like, oh no, did it fall off the train? What's going on? But it all worked out in the end, and again, thanks to Polymat and all his efforts. Along with our George 1987 for sending photos of an intact LA30 to reference, plus the interest from all y'all. I really appreciate you watching, commenting, and encouraging us to move forward with this whole project. Otherwise, it would have been harder to justify, for sure. I plan to bring the Hallican to some of the vintage computer festivals I exhibit at in the future, especially since we've got it this Pelican case for protecting and transporting the thing now. No more cardboard boxes. So I hope you'll come out to a show and see it in person sometime, maybe even with better video support by then. Also, let me know in the comments if you ever had one of these. I'd be curious your experiences and if it also exploded into peanut brittle or not. And I hope you stick around for more LGR things. There are always new retrospectives and such in the works. And as always, thank you for watching.